Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Say Report. I'm your host, Devon Decker, and joining me, my host companion, it's Sejohn Sarowick. Sejohn, say something so that the existential dread in my heart that you're not recording can be alleviated.
I'm expecting you to bring in Tom Arnold at any second here.
Oh my God, I wish. You know who was almost on this? You brought up in the last episode that I force Dale to watch movies, but she doesn't force me to watch movies. Dale was almost on this episode because she had planned to the plan was to record a Say Report Junior while we were recording this episode, but then your brother forgot that he had standing arrangements that canceled their recording.
Oops.
Yeah. I mean, it happens, right? There are some pits and perils to recording a podcast like this right here. This is a time capsule episode of the Say Report that we're recording outside of space and time in case we need it. But the funny thing is, we found out it's sort of like Schrodinger's cat, the time capsule episodes. Like, they exist and they don't exist at the same time. But we had planned to record this right after we finished recording Failing at Failing. And then we're like, yeah, we'll do this episode. And we still haven't talked about it. I don't think the title has given it away. If you're one of those insane fans who reads the descriptions before listening, you might be the only one who knows what we're about to do. But yeah, so we had planned to do it. And then Sejohn this very morning was like, yo, I'm not going to be available for recording this weekend. So this time capsule episode gets put right into production, weirdly getting like a Battlefield promotion to excused absence episode.
Yeah, and just for the record, Zach and I had different things going on. I don't want to.
Oh yeah, no, it's
not going on with the Sarowick boys.
No. Well, no,
we're just both flakes. That's all.
That's not what it is. We're recording on Wednesday. We're recording at a different time, you and I. The weekend stuff happens, right? If anything, we've learned that stuff happens, or shit happens if you're not in a college production of the show. But yeah, so it's a time capsule episode, and it's a time capsule episode that is kicking off what is going to be our theme for 1996, one of the myriad of themes for 1996. But we figured we'd jump in feet first into... Sejohn, do you remember in 2020, and I don't know why it was 2020, I don't know why we did this for the 26th anniversary of Jim Carrey's insane year in which he was in Ace Ventura, Pet Detective, Mask, and Dumb and Dumber. But we did 3 time capsule episodes looking at those 3 films from Jim Carrey. And there's another comedian who was flying real high after his divorce from Roseanne Barr and appeared in True Lies, a movie that we will cover possibly for the 40th anniversary. Maybe not, though. Maybe it hasn't aged that well. But the actor we're talking about is Tom Arnold.
Mr. Tom Arnold.
And Tom Arnold, a scant 2 years after Jim Carrey blessed us with 3 movies that cemented who Jim Carrey truly was, Tom Arnold had a similar year where he blessed us with Big Bully, The Stupids, and Carpool. And
blessed is a funny way of putting it, but yeah.
You know what? If we've learned anything from our Failing at Failing episodes, maybe it was a blessing that these 3 movies happened in 1996. Certainly Big Bully, which is where we're starting the journey. If you were able to deduce that from the title of the episode, What the Sam Hill? Congratulations. You're insane. You might want to...
I think the this is like that other side of the coin thing, right? Like, basically, Jim Carrey had a couple of interesting roles and then, like, struck, like, just while the iron was hot with 3 movies. Bing, Bang, Boom, and it kind of blew him up, and he is, who we know now, right? And then we have almost the exact same scenario here with Tom Arnold, and I correct me if I'm wrong, but it feels like it's a completely different result.
It's a completely different result that, spoilers for the Tom Arnold of it all, is going to bleed into 2 movies that we're looking at in 1997 that also happen to feature Tom Arnold. So
Nice.
we're going to look at these 3 Tom Arnold films from 1996. That's just a given. But we've already looked at 2 films that I can confirm we're covering in 97 that also feature Tom Arnold. So, like, the man was on fire. And in fact, you know, going back to the Jim Carrey of it all, The Mask had been in the can for a while. And it was only after the success of Ace Ventura: Pet Detective that New Line Cinemas was like, the world is ready for this. The world is ready for Jim Carrey as Big Head. This film, Big Bully, was shot and ready to go in 1995, but did not release until March of 96 for some reason. And honestly, I could not tell you why. I don't know why this gets delayed a year.
Look, we're going to talk a lot about this movie, and I want to make sure that I am not being too down on it, because I actually really did enjoy myself with this film. That'll be the first thing I say. This movie has some issues. One of which is the tonal shifts, and not even the tonal shifts. The tone with which it treats certain material is insane.
Oh yeah,
in this movie.
Okay. So what the first thing I'm gonna say?
So well, but in terms of the being released thing, right? I think it's probably this was shown to test audiences and they did not react well, so they put it in what used to be the dead zone.
Yes, that's true. Interesting choice of words there, the dead zone. But we'll get there, because I want to say the first thing I have to say about this movie, about Big Bully, 1996's Big Bully, starring Rick Moranis and Tom Arnold. And we'll get to the Rick Moranis and Tom Arnold of it all. But we need to start with, my first impression of this film is there is a quiet sadness to this film that is undeniably beautiful. Those are real words that I just said. And those are real words that I sincerely mean. The story of this film has a quiet beauty and sadness that, like, really elevated my experience. But before we explore that any further, recently, and I don't know if we've covered this on the show, honestly, I think we mentioned it very briefly at the end of an episode, but the world lost Rob Reiner. He was murdered by his son. Rob Reiner, the director, was murdered by his son. And I'm not trying to be cavalier about it, but it's just a fact I need to bring up, because where I would like to start the discussion on Big Bully is the fact that Jeffrey Tambor's playing Rob Reiner, right?
Oh man, that's a good pull. Yeah, there is definitely a little bit of that going on there for sure.
Which is made all the weirder by the fact that I remember the first time I tried to kill Betty, because in addition to Rob Reiner being murdered by his son, his wife Michelle, I want to get her name right, because everybody's just calling her Michelle Reiner, but I believe she was Michelle Spicer Reiner. I want to get that right, so hold on one second.
Yeah.
While I just confirm this, because this is a weird thing I would say. Michelle Singer Reiner. Both of them were murdered by their son. Like, that's just an undeniable fact, which made the whole line of Jeffrey Tambor saying, I remember the first time I tried to kill Betty, who was presented as his wife, really kind of hit hard. Because the thing about Big Bully, right? The insane thing about Big Bully is that Big Bully is a satire parody send-up of Stephen King. Undeniably. Like, first of all, you said the dead zone, and that was just like, I don't even think Sejohn's on the same thesis as I am, and he just worked his way into what I'm about to say. But when you talk about tonal shifts, that's a big part of what you get in a Stephen King story. And Rob Reiner, rest his soul, God rest his soul. It's very tragic what happened there. I know I'm like laughing and I have a jovial thing, but like, Rob Reiner was the director of so many Stephen King adaptations that have like just wormed their way into the cultural consciousness. It's an undeniable fact, to the fact that his production company is called Castle Rock. Yeah.
I'm just looking over my notes and realize that I have, this is very Stephen King-y at the top, where because of the whole not dual narrative because they don't go back to it, but like the starting with them being very young and seeing them as kids. And we spent so much more time with them as kids than I remember.
Which
like,
12 fucking minutes of this movie is all is all them as
and it's
children.
Only a 90-minute film.
Yeah,
it's actually only an 87-minute film with 3 minutes of credits. I think
exactly. Yeah, it's not even 90 minutes. It's 89 minutes long. The runtime is 89 minutes. So you talk about that. It's 86 minutes with 3 minutes of credits. Let's be honest. Right. So that whole opening sequence where he's talking and telling us the story of the friendship, I'm getting real Stand By Me vibes. But then when you look at the breakdown of the kids, and this is even supported in the IMDb trivia, it's the same grouping of kids as in It.
Yes.
Like straight up, it's the same with kids. So then when you talk about it being a dual narrative of like when they're kids and then when they're adults, like that would make Fang, Roscoe Biggins, Roscoe Bigger. I'm sorry, I feel bad.
Bigger.
It is bigger, right? It's Biggins. Just bigger. I thought his name was Ross Go Bigger for a while. I'm just gonna admit
like he was a fucking GoBot or something. Like he would just like.
Well, if this is Ross Go Bigger, and I'm like, go bigger, go home, big guy. Like that was my thought. But like at that way, he kind of is like the It sort of entity in the life of David Leary. He's an adult now. Ross, he's no more Davy. So like it's a lot of Stephen King stuff, and then when we flash forward to the 90s, because it does start in 1970. They flash forward to the 90s, and David Leary, Rick Moranis' character, is
It's 1979, right?
It's 1970. It's specifically 1970.
It's 1970. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because he says, May 3rd, 1970 was the best day of my life. It's the day I left Hastings, Minnesota, and moved to the golden place on the West Coast, Oakland, California. Very funny stuff. Also, before I forget about it, I have a real big fan of the fact that the name of the teams, like the sports teams back in Hastings, are the Raiders. And he moved to Oakland, which is where the Raiders were from, until their brief sojourn to Los Angeles, and now their final trip to Las Vegas. Just like real great stuff going on in the background of this fucking movie. But when
the fire on the guy's arm.
Oh yeah, when Ulf lights himself on fire. Yeah, but
it's all in the background.
It's all in the back. Well, he says, "Who wants to see me lit myself on fire?" But then we don't. Right. It's just background action. That is chef's kiss. But it is really good stuff. But when we see him in Oakland in the 90s, he's signing his book, which I don't remember the name of his book. I feel like an asshole that I can't remember the name of.
Oh, no, wait.
I'm sure you have it.
I'm going to pull it up. Last Straw. The Last Straw.
Yeah. So when he's doing a signing of his book, Last Straw, and everybody who comes into the bookstore is like, where's the new Stephen King? Like, there's even the woman, like, she's foreign, and she does not speak the language, but she's like, Stephen King. And he like tells her where to find it. Because at this point, he has just resolved that this is what people want. They don't care about my book. But then he gets with the stoner guy who was uncredited. And he like...
Which is unfair.
Yeah, completely unfair. He and also like one of the waitresses in the movie are just uncredited for some reason. And no one knows who they are. They're like ghost people. And he tells that stoner basically that Last Straw is like Pet Sematary. It's exactly like Pet Sematary, but legally different. Like it's distinct enough for me to not get sued by Stephen King. And so I have Stephen King is dancing in my head the way that Stephen King is able to for like the first 20 minutes of this fucking movie. And then
I've also been in the middle of watching Welcome to Derry and rewatching the It movies recently too. So like that's not doing me any favors here. Plus we're also sitting here after Stranger Things closed up. There's a lot of Stephen King in the air at the moment.
Yeah, right. Running Man just hit Paramount Plus.
The Running Man just hit Paramount Plus.
So yeah, there's a lot of Stephen. I know that's Richard Bachman, but guess what? You want to know a secret, listeners? Richard Bachman is Stephen King. It's a nom de plume. But yeah, like this film, and then as I'm watching it and I'm watching this, like these tonal shifts and things like that, I'm like, motherfucker, this was a 1990s parody of like Stephen King movies, right down to the fact that you have Rob Reiner as the like over expositive, like all knowing neighbor portrayed by Jeffrey Tambor. Like, it really kind of worked.
Interesting theory. It is interesting theory. I mean, it's insane. I think that like if you had a different title and a different director, this movie could have easily been one of those like like dark, like I'm thinking like Mulholland Drive style David Lynch, like this could have been a much darker, grittier film. Or you know what it was really making me think of? There were moments, especially towards the end, where with the big battle in the shop, which is just again fucking insane tonally. This movie, the fact that they are basically they are trying to murder each other at the end of this. But and to be fair to Rick Moranis as David, like he's trying to, he's running away. He's like, but there's this it was remind me of The Fan. Do you remember that movie?
Yeah, that's a really good pull, CJ.
Man, yeah. But you know those wild, like kind of like psycho thrillers of like the '90s. You know, like Along Came a Spider and stuff like that. Like I feel like that is where this script, like almost kind of wanted to go every moment, but then they would then they do a titty twister joke. Like it was weird. Like it was really weird.
Gosh, yeah. This movie tonally it is insane. And it's one of those things where like, I watched the trailer. Very rarely do I watch the trailer for movies, but I wanted to you really got into my cabeza, buddy, with the whole Dale doesn't force you to watch New Year's Eve, and yet you force her to watch Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, the movie. I gave them the option where I'm like, we're going to watch the trailer for this movie that we're doing a recording on, and I want to see if you guys are interested in watching it. And Mom was like, I'm out. Like, this is like the type of movie that like makes me anxious with all the slapstick and everything. I can't do it. And Dale's like, but it looks interesting. I think I'm in. So like, I knew a lot of what was going to happen. And then I start watching the movie and I'm like, wow, this is not the film that they advertised at all. Like, I cared about the kids. I'm really invested in it. Like, I say that there's a quiet sadness to this movie, and that quiet sadness is from moment one when young Ross is bullying young David. I'm like, Ross believes that this is what friendship is. He doesn't see himself as David's bully. He sees David as a friend, and like, this is just how friends treat each other.
Right. Yeah. And I think that like if it stuck to that kind of idea the whole time, this movie would be a fucking banger. But the problem is that it introduces such a great idea, and it is a really beautiful like kind of thing that they're exploring. And there's this idea that like there's kind of this like message about toxic masculinity, which in the middle of the 90s is fucking insane. Like there's that kind of thing going on. Like there's a lot of really interesting stuff at play. It's just the movie just does itself a disservice by just completely veering off course at certain points. And unfortunately, the last like 20 minutes of the movie is like a huge veering off course.
Right. So this is the first time I've ever watched the movie from tip to tail. The only scene I had ever seen of Big Bully, spoilers for a film that is celebrating its 30th anniversary this coming March. You've had time. It's on Amazon Prime as of this recording, which is January 14th, 2026. So if you have a Prime subscription, you can watch this film. But I am going to say the scene that I saw, and it was just like on cable, was them at the top of Vermilion Falls.
Top of the waterfall. Yeah.
And Tom Arnold falling to his death. And then Dad changed the channel, and I'm like, what the fuck is that movie?
So, yeah, I mean, like, the way that this movie shifts from being this beautiful story about, like, bullying and about how, like, how he kind of doesn't understand that the abuse that he's doing, and it is full on abuse. Like, as much as this movie wants to be anti-bullying, when he finally goes to talk to the principal, I'm talking about later David now,
Oh yeah.
older David now, when he finally goes to talk to the principal about the fact that he is being bullied by another teacher, it is dismissed so quickly. It is like, that is fucked up. But then I think about like the commentary on like what we're talking about in the real world and stuff like that, and it's very telling, and it's wild where this movie's willing to go with that story. But then like there's this shift to the guy. He's just trying to kill him at the end. He turns into fucking he turns into like a psychopath. He's basically one step away from being a fucking like Eli Ross villain.
Yeah, it's
Eli
Roth. I like Eli Ross.
Well, okay.
Well, his name is Ross.
Part of it is I'm looking at Justin John Ross's IMDb right now, and if you don't know who that is, that's the kid that plays young Rick Moranis in this movie. But what's awesome about that is he's apparently the same kid who a year previously or 2 years previously played the young Rick Moranis in Little Giants. It's like he's like on contract with Rick Moranis to play young him.
And my mother thought that it was Squints from The Sandlot. And I get that. There's a lot of similarities between those two actors. But I'm like, but that's 93 and Squints is much older. So I don't think he'd be like playing a 10-year-old the way that John Ross is in Big Bully. And then to come to find out in Little Giants. But yeah, like he does. Yeah, Fang, Roscoe Bigger becomes this insane. He's almost like the Terminator. And he's got, I mean, like you talk about the Wizard of Oz is ubiquitous. He does the whole, how about a little bit of fire, Scarecrow, which is like awesome. But like, he's like a Batman villain. He's like just south of the Joker. Like it goes to this insane level. And all of that really supports, and again, this is IMDb trivia, so it's sourced. The source is IMDb. I don't have a primary source outside of that. Tom Arnold accepted the role of Roscoe because the script seemed like a funny and touching metaphor on the subject of bullying. He was disappointed when the film underperformed and didn't turn out that way. So I don't know what happens. But you know what this film also feels like to me? What this was very reminiscent of? Death becomes her. In terms of just like this de-evolution into just, we're going to try to murder each other for the third act of this film.
Mm-hmm. Well, we've actually had a conversation recently, I think maybe off mic, talking about War of the Roses.
Yeah. No, we talked a little bit. I thought we talked about that on the show.
Maybe we talked about it on the show, but about the roses kind of having a different, a very
different feel.
Because of the tonal shift, right? And that, so like that story, I was also a couple of nights ago, I was just not sleeping, so I was watching The Money Pit, which is great. Or I'm on a Tom Hanks kick because I did The Burbs for Halloween, which I love, which actually is another one that I think is a good example of this. But anyway, like that kind of story, right? Of like the blue collar everyday man just kind of just driven to the point of just like losing it. I mean, we've talked about like What About Bob on this show. Mm-hmm. We've talked about, was that might have actually been on ASCU, actually.
Wow, we've definitely talked about it. I don't know. It's never gotten a full episode. It's just a topic that we have like skirted around a lot. There'll be a What About Bob episodes. Maybe never, actually, when I think about Richard Dreyfuss and how I hate Richard Dreyfuss. But Richard Dreyfuss, Stand By Me as narrator. I'm just saying. It all comes back to Stephen King.
Yeah, like, so that kind of story was just kind of like rife in that kind of era, right? I don't know if we do too many of those kinds of movies now.
So, I mean, the really crazy thing is that this film is rated PG. Big Bully is straight up marketed to children. But while the VHS case has a PG on it, the tape itself is marked with an R rating. And then the DVD is marked with a PG-13 on the outside. Like, this movie is one of those movies where, like, that movie can't be rated PG. What the fuck are you talking about? There's, like, for real attempted murder in that movie. When he lights the rope on the gym on fire. First of all, he's just walking around like Anton Chigurh with a fucking arc welder. Like, what the fuck is that? And then he takes that and he lights like a climbing rope in the gym on fire that Rick Moranis is like more than halfway up. and that's not being optimistic, he is legitimately almost to the top of the rope, which is interesting considering what we're supposed to believe about David. But he lights that rope on fire, and then when it breaks, like when it gets to the top and falls, he does not care about it. Like, the school should burn down. Like, that's a fire in an all-wood environment.
No, I mean, like, I'm not kidding. Like, he becomes, like, the unmasked killer at the end of, like, a slasher flick. Like, when you find, like, and the only reason I'm not, like, if they put a Halloween mask on him, he might as well be Michael Myers, right? Like, in the outfit and everything. It's just fucking wild that this is what the last 20 minutes of this movie is.
Well, and it's when you consider that Stephen Miner, is it Steven or it's just Steve? That Steve Miner directed Friday the 13th, Part 2 and Part 3. Like, it also, like, kind of makes sense that this film devolves into a horror film. He directed Halloween H2O, Lake Placid. The guy has pedigree with horror movies. So it's not surprising that this film turns into like a horror film for the third act. Also, while I'm looking at his IMDb page, he directed Soul Man. You familiar with Soul Man?
Yeah, man. The Samuel L. Jackson, right?
Nope. I'm talking about the Soul Man from the 80s, where a white kid pretends to be black to get into Harvard.
Yeah, the blackface one. Yeah.
He directed Wild Hearts Can't Be Broken in 91, a G-rated film about horses. Walt Disney, wow. Jesus, this guy, like, what? Like, he has the most. He directed Forever Young, the Mel Gibson movie about cryogenics. My Father the Hero.
Father the Hero. I was just looking at,
just wow. like. And that's, like, the guy's got this insane pedigree, but, like, most of the things you'd recognize Steve Miner for are horror films. So the fact that the last part of this, there's that great shot where Rick Moranis runs out of the wood shop, and you get that Dutch angle that, like, kind of slides with him as he gets into the hallway, and also finds that, like, at this point, at the point where Tom Arnold's character turns into what is for all intent and purposes the killer in a slasher film, I'm like, is this really happening? Or is this just a story that one of them is writing? Is this a story that Tom Arnold's son is writing? Like,
yeah, no, it's wild.
Well, like, it really, like, and then they do a fade to white. Like a fade to white in 1996, and I'm like, oh, this is all just a fucking dream. None of this is really happening. But no, all of it is really happening.
Well, right, because, like, and the other reason why you kind of feel like none of this can possibly be real is that it doesn't let anything hang very long. So, like, when we're talking about the fact that he falls off of a waterfall, Ross, like, he is not pushed. He is not attacked in any way by David. So I don't know why he feels like he murdered a man, because he didn't.
No, he swung at him, but then his feet slipped and he landed, and then he was unable to save him and he tumbled into a waterfall. A la The Fugitive. Like, that shot is so beautifully fugitive.
Yeah, but, like, there's nothing in that moment that would make you think that he should feel responsible for that, especially after the guy was trying to literally murder him.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that happens. He goes home. The guy's kid is there. That's a fucking black. that is a like, black comedy. Like, that is a wild.
And it immediately follows the conversation where all-knowing Art the neighbor, a.k.a. XP for Rob Reiner, director of all these Stephen King adaptations, is like, oh yeah, you killed the shop teacher, right? It's only logical. We all know you guys.
And this is after, and we're also missing. I also jumped over just so that we could hit all the notes of insanity here. The ride home he gets. That moment happens in the woods. That guy supposedly dies, and he runs to the police station. And I have to say, that was one of the most cathartic things to see in a movie. I was expecting
Yes.
full on, oh no, he's gonna just pretend that like he wasn't there or something. To see him actually go right to the police to try and get help and to say, hey, this thing happened and I did it and blah blah blah. I was like, man, I can't believe that that's where they're going with this. And then all of a sudden, his friend pulls up in the fire truck. His pyromaniac friend, who we were just talking about, lights himself on fire earlier in the movie, shows up in the fire truck, apparently just cruising. Just cruising around the town, seeing what's up. And when he sees his friend banging on the police station door, it like tries to get him to tell him what happened. And when he does, his immediate reaction is, I'm going to bring you home and then I'm going to go hide your body.
I'm going to go find it and hide the body. Nobody needs to know this happened. Also, what you are jumping over, the big thing you're jumping over in this whole chain of events is that at the police station, there is a back in 5 minutes sign.
Yeah.
The door is locked. He's banging on. He's like, I killed a man. I need to confess my crime. I killed a man. And then the camera does like a nice diagonal pan to like a kid drew it. Sorry, we're out. Back in 5 minutes.
Yeah. I mean, this movie is just like and then all of this is to say he thinks he killed a guy. He gets home. He sees the guy's son is there hanging out with his son, and we're supposed to think that that's a joke somehow. I don't understand. And he decides he's just going to go upstairs and lay down, and he does. And then almost instantly, a drenched version of Ross appears in front of him. And my first thought was, oh my God, is he seeing is his guilt setting in? Is he just seeing? And then he goes, oh my God, you're real. And I was like, no, he's not. And he is. So as much as we talked about him possibly killing this guy, we know within 5 minutes that he hasn't. The movie doesn't let you sit in that for any amount of time.
But you say it doesn't let you sit in it for any amount of time. It lets you sit in that one, like, it's 15 seconds. But they do attempt to do it, which is why your idea that, like, test audiences watch this movie and did not enjoy it, because you see Rick Moranis laying in bed, it is like the most troubled sleep that you've ever seen anyone have in a film. Like, his actions are weighing on him as he's laying there. So the idea that this is a guilt dream where he is being visited by the waterlogged corpse of the man he believes himself to have just murdered is like, this is good. Like, I'm like, holy shit.
I would have believed in ghosts before I believed that was really him.
Yes, 100%. Like, that happened, and I'm like, okay, so this is definitely a story. This is his follow-up story about, like, working through his issues with his bully, and, like, by finally killing the bully, he's like, but I'm never going to escape him because he was part of my life, and now he's this ghost who haunts me still, and that's because we don't think of the effects that we have on people in this world. I'm like, motherfucker, this is really happening. And it doesn't become 100% Roscoe is alive for me until the two kids come into the doorway while Roscoe is on top of Rick Moranis, choking him to death. And the two kids come.
All they say is, we made up, why can't you? And then walk away.
And then they walk away.
Fucking badasses.
Come on, Ben. Let's go watch Connie. Which, can we talk about Connie, the insert 90s TV
the show that is on at all hours of the day and night on every television station?
Yeah, like, this feels like a fucking story. This does not feel real. And I know that it's a movie. I know that it's a story. But it feels like, as a viewer of this film, I'm not supposed to believe this is the real world. And yet,
it feels like
world.
It's like absurdist, like yeah.
It really is. And I gotta tell you, so first time watching the film, so I guess we already started with, like, something sad by, like, Rob Reiner passed away, and then I'm like, but I'm pretty sure Rob Reiner's in this movie, played by Jeffrey Tambor. That guy loves playing things that he's not. But, like, this is also Rick Moranis's last live action performance.
Yeah.
because
Yeah, I think
I mean,
followed up only by like Brother Bear later,
well, but
right?
Brother Bear's not live action. That
No, no, no.
he's done
That's what I'm
voice
saying.
work. Yeah,
That's what. Yeah, and I'm trying to think of like as far as movies he does after this. I don't know much between this and Brother Bear, to be honest.
right. And I think that Brother Bear is probably the very last one that. Well, that's weird because I say this is his last performance, but like he's in Honey We Shrunk Ourselves. Like that's a movie. Because weirdly, there is the fact that Stuart Pankin's in this movie.
Yeah,
And I'm
if they
like,
get buddy buddy in that.
yeah, and
Like,
I'm
hey,
like,
wait a minute.
that's great because he plays Wayne's brother in Honey We Shrunk Ourselves. Is this where they met? Like, is he in this movie because of Honey We Shrunk Ourselves or that? But that was a video. So I think when people talk about Big Bully, they're talking about the fact that
Theatrical release.
was that
Theatrical
release, yeah. But then like it has been all voice work. But then he's been in like TV movies. He was in Bob and Doug McKenzie's 2-4 anniversary in 2007. Like he's done a lot of like Bob McKenzie stuff. So he's been in things, but like, yeah, this was it for a real long time. Also, now that I'm sitting here thinking about it, forgetting that we watched him 2 years ago as Barney Rubble. I like all the Rick Moranis that we have in this show. I'm just going to say it. I'm just going to mention it.
Okay, so let's talk about, since we're doing it, let's talk about Rick Moranis. I watched this movie, and I walked upstairs instantly as the credits rolled and said to my family, okay, I need to take a poll. Rick Moranis, sexy or not? And it was it was hilarious watching the room kind of like look at each other, think about it for a second, and then all of a sudden kind of all grow to this decision of, yeah,
Oh,
actually.
definitely.
And then like just listing off things about him. And then I was like, okay, but like, what about like as an on-screen presence? Like not because like one.
I mean, the sexiest thing about Rick Moranis, not to step on your toes here, is the fact that after the tragic death of his wife, he quit acting to raise his family.
That
There
was
ain't nothing
exactly
sexier
what,
than
that was
that.
exactly what I was about to say. Is that the exact words that were used is, I mean, of course, you know what? There's nothing sexier. Than
There's
that.
literally
Like,
nothing sexier than the fact that he gave up his vocation for his family. But also, fucking Rick Moranis could get it. And like the only times where I'm like, ugh, I don't really like Rick Moranis is Louis Tully in Ghostbusters and Ghostbusters 2, if I'm being completely honest.
Well, yeah, because the character is just a
Is
gross.
gross.
Character, really.
He's just a gross
Like,
character. But the fact that I would still...
we've come to terms with the fact that there's a lot of characters in those movies that are actually pretty gross.
Oh, yeah, no, undeniably. But and what I will say is that despite the fact that he played Louis Tully in Ghostbusters and Ghostbusters 2, Rick Moranis could still get it. And I gotta tell you, like Seymour in fucking Little Shop of Horrors, he's a fucking smoke show. This is a weird show. The Say Report's the weirdest show.
So like, but this movie, and there was this period for Rick Moranis where he was playing these figures, right? These kind of father figures, but very often they're single. You know, I'm thinking of like Little Giants previously, or even sorry.
One of the reasons why he didn't want to do Big Bully was that, like, I don't want to play another single father after my wife passed. Like, and weirdly, his wife passes away, and he gets typecast as single fathers.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
what the
But
fuck? Sorry.
But what that does is that puts him in this unique position to like have these really good like dad moments and that are very wholesome, and then also then turn around and have the good leading man romantic sexy scenes, you know, and he does a really good job balancing the two as an actor. The movie is just there's so much going on with his character. Are we supposed to think he's a dork, or are we supposed to think he's cool? Are we supposed to think he's gotten over the bullying, or are we supposed to think that he's still traumatized by it? Like, it can't really land, and this is not him. This is the film itself can't seem to decide where David is on the spectrum of trauma and self kind of like self-acceptance, right, for like who he is, because there are often times in this movie where he seems fucking hilarious and cool, and even as a kid there's a moment where he does stuff and she comes by and she winks at him, and they're all like, "Hey, she's looking at you. She's looking at you." And he's like, "What? What? Huh?" Like he's too stupid to see it, but like he is still like it when he's a kid, right? So I thought that part of this movie, in my head, I thought I remembered him realizing that he had actually been kind of cool the whole time and that the bully had been kind of the loser the whole time. And I couldn't remember how that played out, but I just was like, because it feels like the moral of every bully story, right, is the realization that the bully, and there is some of that in here, but then like I said, then the movie completely just loses all of that good
Goodwill.
good energy that it was building with me once it reveals that okay, he may not be right, he may be coming from a bad place and all that, and he may be lonely, but he is also a psychopath. So
yeah, it's but also, they try to give like a pretty good origin for why Roscoe has like become this whole thing, because he gets sent to the Rochester Reform School and he's like, yeah, my roommate, like I was bunking with a kid who lit his mom on fire for vacuuming during Lost in Space. Rochester Reform School is where they send murderers when they're too young to send them to jail. Like, imagine living in that environment. It's gonna warp you in some way, shape, or form. Like, it's just an undeniable fact. So they try to give that whole explanation. But then, where I think this film is most certainly, like, the victim of just all sorts of cuts and carves and re-edits is the fact that it's still there in like the smallest possible way. With Curtis Armstrong's character of Clark, Curtis Armstrong, Booger from Revenge of the Nerds, Snot from American Dad. Sometimes you just gotta say what the fuck guy from Risky Business. I'm a huge fan of Curtis Armstrong. I just wanted that on the record. He's in 2 of my favorite movies of all time. And it's not Revenge of the Nerds. It's One Crazy Summer and Better Off Dead. I love what he's doing in those 2 movies. And I like him. I like Curtis Armstrong. And we see this whole sort of thing where Rick Moranis, through his actions, make Clark feel like he's being bullied. And legitimately, it feels like that duality that you're talking about. These moments where, like, David is the coolest fucking kid in the room, and these moments where David is, like, ultra mega dork, you almost kind of feel like he deserves the treatment he's getting. Obviously,
the dance is a great example of that, right?
Right.
Like where he shows up and she walks over to him and he actually looks really cute in the cowboy getup, and then they're dancing together, and the kids literally say, "Cool, like look at that, that's cool, like he's cool," and then like 2 seconds later he's a dork again.
Right, and then to the fact that his son, to quote the film, disowns him. My son has disowned me because I'm such a dork. Like, it's this real interesting thing. And you think about also the fact that, like, to quote Mr. Kokler, the president, Don Knotts is in this movie. He's like, if Roscoe has any issues, it's the fact that he's too passive. And you think about that fact that, like, from your point of view, Roscoe was bullying you, David, but you being like, he was physically your superior, but you were clearly his mental superior. And they put that in there where, like, you know, that was a shit move you did. You got to pick the spelling bee words and you stuck me with this hard word. I mean, the hard word is USSR, which is kind of like 3 levels of meta fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
Like that's a really good bit. But like that whole thing there where I'm like, oh, so it's one of those situations where like they kind of bullied each other. And to Roscoe, that's why they were best fucking friends. Right. Because of that whole like, we rib each other. Which is a huge part of like our generation's idea of what male friendship is. One of the reasons we have such difficulty making friends as adults is that like once you get to a certain age, it doesn't work to be like, hey, fatso, and then suddenly you're best friends.
Yeah, I think you know what relationship I wish it was a little bit more like. This is gonna be a fucking wild ass pull, but Ben Stiller and Jack Black in Envy, and that kind of like antagonistic frenemy thing
Yeah.
that they're trying to do in this movie, but the two of them, probably because of how close they are in real life, but like the two of them have so much better chemistry at it. I I don't know. I don't want to lay this squarely at the feet of Tom Arnold because I don't think that he's the worst actor we've ever talked about on this show, but I don't think that I don't think that he is sure what Roscoe is thinking at any given moment. He knows what the line says Roscoe is thinking, and so Roscoe. But then on the other hand, Roscoe is also very surface level as a character anyway. Like so, it's hard for me to pin down whether or not he, as Tom Arnold as an actor, is actually doing, is doing anything in this movie.
So if I were honestly going to put the blame at anybody's feet, and I'm not trying to be mean when I say this, I'm just being sincere. I put the blame at Rick Moranis because there's enough like details about this film that Rick Moranis' heart was not in making this movie. Like he was apprehensive to make the film because of how similar it was to Little Giants, because of the fact that it felt like after he lost his wife in the real world, he was just getting typecast as these single fathers. These are real things that he has talked about. And part of what made him be like, I kind of want to walk away from Hollywood because like, it's just every time I go to work and I'm just suddenly reminded of what I'm doing. Down to the fact that Tom Arnold has gone on record as saying that he felt like Rick Moranis didn't like him, that there was like an underlying animosity towards him. So I feel like Tom Arnold throughout this whole movie is distracted by the fact that he feels his scene partner it does not like him. So he's almost too distracted because you say that we've looked at maybe worse actors than Tom Arnold. Tom Arnold, when he commits to a role, he's a good actor. There is a reason why this moment happens for Tom Arnold. And I definitely think that we're going to see that as we examine The Stupids and we examine Carpool later on this year. And then the other films that we're going to look at that happen to feature Tom Arnold and the performances that he's doing in them. I think that the problem is, like, Tom Arnold is excited to be there, despite the fact that he is not the first choice, right? Very, also publicly, he is not the person that they wanted to have in this movie. They wanted it to be Bill Murray as the bully, which, the what about Bob things that you're feeling, that kind of gets there. And then, also, Steve Miner did Bushwhacked. They wanted Daniel Stern, but Daniel Stern at 6'4", dwarfed Rick Moranis so much that they're like, oh no, he's a little too tall. He's a little too imposing when these two are up against each other. So they go with shorter Tom Arnold, who's still compared to the 5'6" of Rick Moranis at 5'10", looks like a big and intimidating presence. But, it was easier to get them both into the shot. So, you have to wonder if he knows that, he's only there because, we're able to get him and he's commercially relevant after True Lies. So let's get Tom Arnold. And then you're, excited to work. How excited would you be to work with Rick Moranis at any given time in your life, Sejohn?
Of course. Yeah.
You're excited to work with this guy and he's giving you nothing. And he's not giving you nothing because of you. He's giving you nothing because of the project. That's gotta be hard, right? Think about going to work with a coworker who's not in a mood to be at work. And then imagine that you're shooting a movie with that person.
Yeah.
You have to work together. And so, because I think you're right. I think that Roscoe Biggins is I really love his journey, but you're not wrong where there doesn't seem to be any sort of consistency in Tom Arnold's performance as that character. The most beautiful thing is that on the paper, he's happy again because he was lonely, right? And they never talk about that. Tom, like you said, it's a metaphor for bullying and everything. But like his character at the beginning of the film is lonely, which is 100% compounded on by the fact that Ulf and David's other friends are like, yeah, he got sent to that reform school, and while he was there, his parents fucking abandoned him. So he winds up in an orphanage after he gets out of the reform school. Then you look at his family. He's tried to give himself a large family. He has 6 kids with Carol Kane, which is just crazy. Like, that's another thing where I'm like, I don't know if this is real. Because he has 6 kids, but really he only needs 1 kid. And honestly, the script of the film treats him like he only has 1 kid.
Yeah. Well, because I think that part of it is like, I don't know how I'm supposed to feel about him as a father, right? Because he seems actually like a pretty good dad to the kid. Like he compliments him. He acknowledges that the kid is different than him, but still supports the kid no matter, even though the kid is different. There's a lot of really interesting stuff about what a good dad he is to that kid. However, all the other kids are just like
terrorists,
ill-behaved, and like they are bullies themselves in some instances, and like and he walks in and all he kind of does is just military yell at them as a dad. And so like, is he a good dad? I can't tell.
He's a great dad to, oh my god, I know Ben. What's the other kid's name? Cody McMahon. What's Cody McMahon's character's name? It's Kirby. How did I forget Kirby? Like, he's a great father to Kirby. There is that moment where he's like, oh, what are you working on, son? And he's like, you wouldn't understand. And it broke my heart a little bit because, like, even if he wouldn't understand, Kirby, that's your dad trying. That's your dad trying to connect with you because he knows that you're different, but he's putting in the effort. And like, which then it becomes really nice where he's like, I'm writing a poem, and he's like, oh, okay, that's great. And like, and it echoes that moment before where the kid was like, you wouldn't understand. So he's like, well, I'll leave you to it. And he's like, no, I think I'd like you to hear this. And it's like this moment where they're growing and there's growth, and that growth reflects the growth that's happening between Ben and Kirby's relationship. Like it's beautiful. Like, it's just beautifully, and then that poem is wonderful, and it's supposed to be a realization moment for freaking Roscoe that, like, oh, maybe this whole time that I thought I was being a friend to David, I wasn't. Like, I thought that's how friends treat each other because that's, like, what my home life was like, right? Like, his dad hits him and that type of stuff. That's what I thought affection was. But hearing my son's poem, I realized it's not. So then the smash cut to him chasing him down with a fucking nail gun is like, it's disingenuous from what the movie has told us up to that point. I'm sorry. I really got into that one. This
movie, this movie is almost kind of disappointing in all the potential that you can see.
It's
in every
wasted potential.
Of this movie.
It is wasted potential. This film. It truly is. That's the best thing to describe this movie is that it's such wasted potential, because like, think about the fact that like both of them have a kid who is like the person that was kind of their best friends when they were younger, right? Like, I don't know. Like, the fact that he has Ben, who is like this big kind of bully kid, and he has all the comments about like those are future like stars of America's Most Wanted. But then you have Kirby, who's like this quiet sort of thing, but he loves his kid. And like, part of the reason why he loves that kid is because like, I think it reminds him of his best friend who left one day, right? And he didn't get to say goodbye to him, right?
Well, no, and then he finds out that the best friend is the reason he ended up in prison, right? And so he cracks, and that makes sense too. But man, this movie doesn't give you the time to consider all of that.
No. That moment where he's like, when have you ever stood up for yourself, David? When have you ever not chickened out and ran away from a situation? And he's like, the moon rock, I'm the one who turned you in. I heard my heart shatter. Because like, God damn. Like, it's one thing to have done it. It's another thing to look him dead in the eye, knowing everything that happened to him. And, of course, there's some small town, like, mythology around that whole story, right? But still, like, to know that and then to be like, I'm deliberately trying to hurt you by telling you I'm the one who made all of that happen to you. Like, it made me suddenly hate David as a character. And, like, and the fact that the film was able to bring me back is impressive. But, like, yeah, that moment. And I liked when he tried to do the atomic drop and Rick Moranis just caught himself. Like, there's some beautiful moments in this movie. Like, even that one, like, my heart shattering that he says that to, like, this person who I know. Remember, like the chicken and the pork roast stuff? Like, I'm like, dear fucking God. Like, you two were each other's best friends, and you never got that moment of catharsis where you realized that.
Yeah.
Like, you never got to be, like, older than 10 years old and become friends.
You know what franchise does this really well, and it is a full-on franchise at this point, is 21 Jump Street. You know, with the way that they portray them in high school in the beginning of the first movie there, and then like the whole journey that the two of them need to go on to become what end up being best friends in the second film.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just, but the potential is there because there's a great movie here, and there's a great movie in the marble, and they're unable to free it.
Yeah.
But you can still see some of those beautiful supple curves of what this movie could have been.
Didn't have to say supple.
Yeah, but they are though. It's right there. God, it's so good. Like I was so excited to come sit in the studio and record this episode when the credits rolled on this movie, because like most people are gonna watch this movie and just be like, about it, right? Like, this movie has won 3 awards. Do you want to know what those 3 awards are?
Are they Razzies?
It won a 1997 Razzie Award for Worst Actor in a tie with Pauly Shore from Biodome. But also, Tom Arnold is sharing it with his performances in The Carpool and Stupids. Blake Bashoff, who plays Ben, won a 1997 Young Artist Award, Best Supporting Young Actor. I think that's cool.
He was actually really good.
He was,
and
really
I thought
good,
he had a really interesting story with him coming into the new town, being with the bullies at first, and then like kind of just over time realizing he does not want to be that kind of person. And like Ben was a good person. Like Ben was the kind of the best person in this movie, besides maybe Kirby.
Yeah, they're the best part. They're the emotion of this film, and the whole thing is that they're the kids getting the chance to grow past the initial antagonism that's there. Right? Mm-hmm. They're the kids who get to grow up and see that. And that whole thing, because Ben's new and he feels isolated and he sees this opportunity to like suddenly have friends, and all I have to do is be mean to this one weaker kid. And like, and he jumps at that because all of us are seeking acceptance, right? Especially in middle school, of all times in your life, right? God, I can't go down the middle school road, Siege, and it's just not fair to the listener. I've done it too many times. But it's one of those situations where, like, yeah, you're going to do that. I'm reminded of, this is weird. This is a weird story that I'm going to tell. I'll tell this story. After high school, like 2 of the people that I ended up hanging out with a bunch in high school, you know both of them, but I won't use their names. Like the basement guy, I'm going to call him basement guy. So maybe that puts it in. Like, we were a little bit drunk a little bit after high school, and he confided in me that he felt like wrong being friends with one of the brothers because when they were younger, all he would do was make fun of him on the school bus so that he would be accepted. Like that's a real world example, told terribly because I don't want to share any real names here. But hopefully Sejohn got it. All I need to know is that Sejohn understood these people and who these people are. But he's like, yeah, like I feel bad because I made fun of him on the bus, And it meant that people wouldn't make fun of me, and instantly I was accepted because I was also hurling insults at this kid that everybody else was insulting. And like,
well, we're bullying is a virus, right?
Yeah.
And that's and this is exactly how it spreads.
Yeah. And then also the last award that this is Tom Arnold, Worst Actor, 1996 Stinker Award, shared with his performances in Carpool and The Stupids. So like, this movie is not beloved and is sad. And most people probably watch this movie to laugh at this film and be like, can you fucking believe it? But I'm watching this movie and I'm seeing like, they're trying to like lampoon all of this fucking Stephen King stuff by weirdly being like, what if it wasn't a Stephen King novel? What if it didn't take place in the mythical state of Maine, but it happened in the real world?
Yeah.
Stuff's insane. Stephen King's stuff is fucking insane. But we just let it all happen, right? We go from a girl getting pig's blood dumped on her to her murdering everybody at her fucking prom. Okay.
There is yeah, and you know, allow me to put on my woke like self for a moment, right? Like let me put my Antifa armband on. But like,
I actually imagine it like an Iron Man suit, like just coming out, but it's actually just like the comfiest, coziest, like hand knitted sweatsuit.
Yeah. But there is this kind of, it's rainbow colored.
Of course.
There's this part of me that wants to say, does this movie not do well in 1996 because it is actually kind of like introspective and like talking about like the fact that, you know, this is a very toxic lifestyle and we do this to young boys all the time and we hope that the next generation is going to be better than us. And like even those of us, like Rick Moranis' character, even those of us that were victims then, like what are we doing now but just creating more of these predators out there? And like there's a lot of that conversation going on. And maybe audiences didn't want to be preached to in that way by a comedy movie with Tom Arnold in it.
I mean, I have to agree with you. And the reason I have to agree with you is there is that moment where, God, I don't remember the character's name, Julianne Phillips' Victoria, where she's talking about how she dated the high school quarterback, like the guy who was a couple of years older, and then he went to U of M and they broke it up and he's now married. And I'm like, and he's married to a guy. That's going to be the joke here. The joke is that he's married to a man now. And I said, I'm like, that's man. And then she's like, no, she's like, oh, he got married to a cheerleader? No, wide receiver. And I went, yes, gay panic is real in 1996. And then I like got real sad because if there's one joke in this film that we have been talking about for the last hour, where we have talked about how it is disingenuous with reality, it is a whiplash breakneck speed when it comes to tonal shifts, like the one thing that doesn't fit this movie is that gay panic joke.
It's not even, but I will even say though, like I don't even think it's that bad of a joke because the very next line is, yeah, they run an inn together and
they run a bed and breakfast and we still stay in touch. Like it is.
Stay in touch. So it's not like so like, you know, like I just attract the worst, don't I? Like, no, she you know, this guy went off to college and realized he was somebody else that he thought he was. And, you know, I think that's not an unheard of story in the gay community. So.
Right. But I bet if we showed this film to 10 people and asked them what the like resolution of that whole storyline was, like maybe 20% of the people would have heard that bed and breakfast line and have seen it as anything more than just a joke poking fun at that. Like it, and it's because of the time and it's because of the film. Like I said, like I'm like, this is going to be the joke that they go for because that's the joke that you go for in 1996. And it's the joke that they went for in 1996. And it is the joke that just feels so out of place considering all of the like introspection and kindness. And then you have that really nice moment where like Tom Arnold is waiting on his Volvo because he has just slashed all 4 of his tires. And he's like, she's no good for you anyway. She'll get in the way. Get in the way of what? Of us. And like, that's another thing where like, I know what he's talking about. She'll get in the way of our friendship getting to blossom again. And like me, I feel great because my friend is back. My friend is back. Do you not understand that, David? And it's just like, damn, like my heart is breaking. And then there's the whole thing about like Ben going like, I'm going to go live with mom. Well, if you can find her, like, fuck. And I got to tell you, for the whole thing before the whole like, maybe that's why mom left us comment, I was like, is his wife dead? Like, what is the story here? Because I know Rick Moranis' real story. I'm like, what is going to be the fucking story here? And I breathed a sigh of relief, man, when I'm like, oh, she just divorced and abandoned the family. Like, it's not something more tragic than that. Especially when you hear that, like, Last Straw is about a man who loses his family and then in so doing that finds himself.
Yeah, right,
like,
exactly.
Like,
yeah. Oh man, another Stephen King move to self-insert your whole life.
Yeah, right. Like this really does feel like. And then my final evidence of that is the fact that Kirby is played by Cody McMains, who, you know where we've seen Cody McMains before, Sejohn?
Us together?
Or well, not in films, not in real life, but in films that we've covered on the show. He is Reese Witherspoon's not Reese Witherspoon, fuck me. He is Kirsten Dunst's younger brother in Bring It On. And then he is Janie Briggs' younger brother in Not Another Teen Movie. So, like, Bring It On's Bring It On, and I love that movie, and I'm so excited for watching Bring It On All or Nothing come August of 2026. But when you consider that Cody McMains goes on to be in another one of these poking fun at satirizing a genre of film type movies, like, it almost feels like one of the reasons you get these characters is because they have the pedigree having done it before.
Yeah. I mean, I was very impressed with the kid actors in this movie because this is a time. It feels very counter to what we think of when we think of the late 90s for child actors, right? There was this whole idea in the early 2000s of the renaissance of the child actor when you had like Elle Fanning and Chloe Moretz and stuff like that. And so there's this idea that the acting before that must have been just awful, but you know, if anything, this movie proves that the 90s were not a monolith, right? And so, like, we have here actually a group of kids in this movie that pretty much across the board are pretty solid actors. You know, I liked the kids in his class for the one moment that they were in. I think I maybe recognized one or two, like, later in you know, becoming bigger actors later on. I really liked the kids in when they were in the past, and like there was a lot of really good groups of. I mean, even the kids playing Tom Arnold's like family, right? Like in that moment for that one scene, it's still it was very believable, especially with playing his wife there from Kimmy Schmidt.
Carol Kane from Kimmy Schmidt. I go Taxi for Carol Kane, or even The Princess Bride as Miracle Max's wife.
But in this movie, it felt like she was playing an earlier version of the character she ends up playing
in Kimmy Schmidt. Again, I understand. I mean, that's just Carol Kane's a treasure. Just to see her and for her to be playing Tom Arnold's wife in this movie, like the casting in this movie was really good, and I also really liked the young actors who played like young David and young Fang and that whole stuff was super engaging. Like I would have watched that whole movie, and we did kind of because we watched until he moved away, which is when that movie ends, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
The Richard Dreyfuss voiceover is, after that day when we found the body, David moved to Oakland, California. I hear he's a writer now. Like, Okay. Like, I don't know. That's really good. Like you know what is great? And you're talking about like, is he cool or is he a dork? He's the only teacher in the teacher's lounge who is not broken on the first day of class. Like,
yeah, I thought you were gonna say is not smoking.
No,
that was the other.
No, that's
thing.
the other joke.
But,
I also love the big no smoking sign in the background with them all smoking. But yeah, like he has a legitimately good class there, and he's never taught before, as far as we know. Right? We don't know what his full like exposure was before becoming a published author, but
I'm not sure like if he went to college for writing, in which case maybe he did TA some classes or something. But
or if he got his master's, you're going to probably teach a course or two to get that. So but he's so good with the kids. He connects to them. Like, and what the fuck is that scene though? Can we talk about like the anxiety on display from kids in the 90s? Like, I can't think of another film from the 90s that so accurately portrayed the exact students who would be in a creative writing elective course.
Right, with a guest artist.
Yeah, right? Like, it's a middle school, right? This is not high school. First of all, they look like they go to the high school from Billy Madison. I'm just going to say that part. But, like, yeah, like, that girl who's like, oh my God, pop quiz, I'm not good at pop quizzes. Oh my God. Like that girl who's like hyperventilating. And he's like, no. You're just going to tell me a story. I can't tell stories. I don't know how. Have you ever lied? Like, it's a really good lecture, to use modern parlance for a higher education. But it is.
Well, no, but that is exactly what it is, right? Is that they show him being very comfortable, but being able to talk down at their level. He's not being patronizing to them. He's not upset or offended by them, even when they're trying to be kind of like snotty with him at first. Like he doesn't resort to being a shitty guy, and because of that, they end up actually really liking him, and he ends up having a good day. It's a very interesting commentary.
Yeah, I wish I had more teachers like Mr. Leary. As opposed to, Mr. Kelly. Fuck that guy. I'll say that right now. That guy was a bully. I didn't need a fucking bully.
Fuck that guy.
But then I also like, once like Roscoe starts to get his confidence back, that like you talk about with his kids, he's kind of like military. Now granted, put in Stooky. That kid's name was Stooky. Let's just pause for 1 minute of reflection on the fact that kid's name was Stooky. Stooky.
Yeah, I don't know what we're supposed to believe about Tom Arnold and his kids. I really don't. I know we said that already,
right.
But like,
no, but you're right,
Stooky
because
seems like you don't like the baby.
Yeah, but really he's not happy that first time. But then when like he's less passive with the kids, like we see like, but he's just like a military father. You're right. Like he doesn't really connect on any level with the kids. Like it's just eat your vegetables and go to bed, clean that mess up, go to bed. Like it's very militaristic. There doesn't seem to be a lot of affection for those kids. And then you see him with Stooky in the classroom. And yes, putting a kid's face to a big fucking grinder, that's not right. You're not supposed to threaten your class like that. But it works in reestablishing his dominance as the teacher of that class. Like they're all paying attention after that. Now
it's fucking psychotic. Squarely
no
on the
doubt.
Side of that is one of the moments where you start to realize
that he's breaking.
He is insane.
Yes, I'm not saying that his methods are correct, but like if he didn't do that, if it was just when he caught the eraser and then started like talking sternly with them, I'm like, I like this. I like what this is. And then he picks up Stooky and like, look at the big grinder, Stooky. And I'm like, oh God, please don't murder Stooky. His life is hard enough already. His name is Stooky.
Yeah, this movie just all around just hates kids is what I'm getting at.
Except for Ben and Kirby. Like just straight up.
Well, yeah,
who are supposed to be the shining beacon.
The rest of the kids are shown to be pretty shitty. like the ways in which kids gather around for a fight, and I get that that's like the trope, and I have even seen that happen once or twice in a high school fight, but I just there is something to the idea that every kid is just out for fucking blood that feels like such a boomer like older generation feeling that like, oh, these kids are just fucking animals, right? These teenagers scared the living shit out of me, as it were.
Yeah, I mean, but also that feeds into my whole this is a Stephen King parody sort of argument.
Yeah.
Because, like, think about Kiefer Sutherland in Stand By Me. Like, that shit fucking escalates. Will Wheaton has to pull the gun at the end of Stand By Me, or they're gonna die. Like, like that's not a doubt in my mind that, like, the actions that happen at the end of Stand By Me have to happen, or, like, Kiefer Sutherland's gonna murder one or all of those kids.
Oh yeah, I mean, like, you know, to go back to it, I mean,
Yeah.
like the entire story with the bully in that one, who does end up actually murdering a bunch of people and then goes after the kid. Like, there's, yeah,
Like like that is just sort of the vibe that Stephen King creates in his stuff. So, like, having all these kids who are awful and then the two kids who are like, see how awful all these kids are and stuff, it just sort of supports this idea that, like, on some level we're lampooning, because Stephen King's beloved, right? He is ripe for a parody sort of thing going on. And then when you look at facts that, like, they tried to get Mel Brooks in to play the role of Don Knotts, right? Jeffrey Tambor was originally going to play the role of Don Knotts. But, like, they were trying to get, like, real comedic presences in this movie.
yeah,
And like, you don't do that. Like, look at all of the, we did Hot Shots, right? We just haven't done the sequel yet.
yeah. We haven't done part two yet.
Yeah. But, like, look at just all of the comedic talent on display in Hot Shots. Like,
Right, yeah.
and that's because that film is essentially lampooning Tom Cruise movies. Like,
Essentially,
it is. We've proved. I think we more than proved that it was. So, like, you look at it, they went, like, they got a horror director, as opposed to, like, it's kind of crazy that Rob Reiner, the person that we say always has Vaseline on his lenses, cut his teeth on things like Stand By Me and Misery, right?
Yeah.
Like that's not what you think of when you think of Rob Reiner as a director. So, like, let's get an actual horror director to direct this comedy thriller starring Rick Moranis and Tom Arnold. Like, it really does feel like behind the scenes, and the potential of this film was, we're making a sort of lampoon parody film of horror movies. Specifically,
I kind of just wish then
King's
that they go
genre.
the whole distance though, right? And
Yeah.
just make Ross just the fucking worst, you know, like make it so that like he seems to have it under control until David comes back, and then David does bring out this animal in him, but at the end of the day he's just unforgivably awful. Then he dies falling off a waterfall, everybody goes home happy. That is the Stephen King story.
That's the Stephen King story. Exactly. The fact is that this is two movies slammed together. Because I feel like, on one hand, we could have this really nice metaphor about bullying, and, like, we don't see ourselves for the bullies that we are in this world. We don't see that. But then, at the other hand, we could have this really crazy parody of, like, Stephen King stuff and all these things where, like, yes, everybody is happy at the end that Roscoe died, but then, like, a little bit of us, because we've watched the movie, we're like, yeah, Roscoe's dead and he was undeniably like an animal, but David is not completely without some fault in this, for the fact that he never treated him as anything more than the bully he was 20 fucking years ago. Like, like, there's nuance in this film, but it all gets lost because rather than explore that nuance, and I have to agree with you, I think that one of the main reasons why we don't get that exploration of the nuance is because test audiences were not interested in that in 1996.
Yeah. I don't think that kind of nuance in a family comedy film that was going to come out, or even if it wasn't intended to be a family comedy, even if it was just meant to be an R-rated comedy.
Yeah. But then, like, also you need to think that, like, 1996 is when we got Scream. So like straight up, the movie going world was ready for like parody sort of send ups of the horror genre. It had had its moment, and like, so the idea that like weirdly Big Bully could have been considered a movie twin to Scream at some point is not the hardest thing in the world to believe. Goodness. Anything else that you want to make sure that we cover here? I think I've hit most of the big like parts of this movie.
Yeah, no, I mean, you know, we've talked about, you know, the acting all around is pretty good. The soundtrack to this movie is non-existent, other than Wooly Bully, which I think is played only over the credits, right?
No, it opens with Wooly Bully as well.
Oh, it does also open with it.
They
as well?
get their
So it
money's
bookends
worth out
itself
of
with
Wooly
one
Bully.
song.
That's not true. Yeah. There's like some really crazy fucking songs that like, oh, I remember this from the 90s. What was the one where I'm like, I've heard this before? I mean, like, I'm an OG by Black 9, was it? But Who Do You Think You Are, performed by Smooth and Direct with Nickel, where I'm like, yeah, I remember this fucking song. What the fuck?
It is definitely an interesting look at music in the 90s, in the late 90s, for what they were putting in these movies, because you can tell that what they did is they spent their money on like Wooly Bully, and then like the rest of these were like pickups from like, okay, this is what the music arm of our production company owns the rights to this stuff, so you can pick from this music is what the rest of it feels like. But like Wooly Bully is the one that it feels like they were real like adamant, this is the one song that we need to have.
Yeah. And also there's a song that Skilo wrote. He doesn't perform it, but You Were My 911, performed by Lamont Van Hook. Like, to have a Skilo song in your 1996 movie, like, this very 1996. You say non-existent when you look back at this as a time capsule. Like, but it is, I don't know. I just, like, at the dance, I'm like, I remember this fucking song. This is weird.
But, like, I don't know anybody out there that owns the Big Bully soundtrack. And I'm sure it exists. I'm sure it's around out there.
Yeah,
but,
I'm
like,
sure. Like, it's on Arista
I'd be hard-pressed to point out a time in my life that I ever even saw it, you know?
Yeah.
And, like, I'm a guy that, like, that was... For when I first started buying music, like movie soundtracks were my go-to, because in my brain at the time, like they were various artists, so I was getting more for my money because I was getting all sorts of different types of music. I was getting music that actually meant something to me because it was attached to things that I enjoyed, you know, that kind of thing. And so like the fact that there was a movie soundtrack that kind of eluded me my entire life is worth noting.
I totally get that. I was recently given as a would you rather never listen to music again or never watch movies again. And I'm like, well, I'm sorry, music, go away. Because most of the music I listen to comes from movies. Like, I'm like, so the movies still exist as the movies. It's just like, I can't put on an album, right? But I could put on a movie. Yeah, I'll just watch Dazed and Confused because it's got a pretty good fucking soundtrack. Like,
yeah, well, right. So does the music leave the movie in that case?
Yeah, like that was the question I asked. And it's like, no. It's very much, you can never listen to music on its own, or you can never watch movies. And I'm like, well, it's movies, right? Can I put movies on in the background while I'm driving? Because, like, I do that already. Mostly for the music. You know what we didn't talk about? We didn't talk about Harry Waters Jr. playing adult Alan. Do you know where you've seen Harry Waters Jr. before, Sejohn? He fits his whole fist in his mouth.
Is he the guy? He's the pyro, right?
No. Tony Pierce is the pyro. Ulf is his character name. I don't know where you've seen Tony Pierce before. He kind of looks like Steve Razzatano from the League, but I can't think of anything. Ulf was just like sort of a character actor in a bunch of stuff. No, the character Alan, adult Alan, Harry Waters Jr. He's Marvin Berry.
Marvin Berry. Yeah. Now that yeah, the only black kid we'd ever met. But
And-
soon all of that went away once we realized he could fit his entire fist in his mouth. What the fuck?
That's so fucking Stand By Me, man. Like it really.
There's a lot of actors in the Disney world, huh?
Yeah.
Because
yeah.
like we talked about like Moranis and Stephen what's his last name? Being in Honey, We Shrunk Ourselves the next year.
Oh,
right?
Stuart Pankin.
And
You're talking about Stuart Pankin.
Yeah,
Steve Miner is the director.
But also, as we're talking about
Waters
Harry
Jr.
Waters here,
Yeah.
Harry Waters Jr. I honestly, the biggest thing I would know him from is actually probably Alice in Wonderland,
Yeah,
the
where
weird
he
like
was
Adventures
Tweedledee.
in Wonderland show, that he was Tweedledum.
He was Tweedledee.
He was Tweedledee. Yeah. He was just
Oh,
one of those. So
this
like,
came out
that's
January.
the funny thing that I always think of whenever I watch Back to the Future. Is I was like, that guy's in the Alice in Wonderland show.
That show that some people believe doesn't exist. That's always one of my.
It's on Disney Plus right now.
That's incredible.
And the
I would
very
watch
last
the F
episode
out
of it is
that.
the Halloween episode. It's so good.
So like
100 episodes up on Disney Plus. Sorry.
Even though it was distributed by Warner Brothers in the United States, like Buena Vista Visual Effects did the special effects in this film. So like there's some Disney fingerprints on this one as well outside of the cast. Also, I said that this came out in March. I'm wrong. Wooly Bully, working title, no. Big Bully originally released January 26th, 1996. So there you go with that one.
Yeah, it like just dumped right out in the beginning of the
right into the dead zone, and not the dead zone where when I touch you, I see how you're gonna die.
Tom Arnold's gonna come at you with a blowtorch.
I see Tom Arnold. He's coming at you in a school. He was your bully. Don't go work at your middle school. Stay in Oakland. It's safer. Oh, we have fun. We have fun on this show. You know what we have to decide? If this is the season finale of season 9 or the season premiere of season 10. I'm fairly certain it's the season finale of season 9.
I was going to say, this feels like we maybe are wrapping up some things in the past and looking forward.
Yeah, that's what Big Bully's all about. But the reason I say that is that our preview episode, right, our freaking 485 times downloaded 60-minute preview of this show was published on January 16th. And then our first proper episode was published on January 23rd. So the fact that this is going to go out on the 19th, like it feels like this is the finale of 9, right? We should probably not do this during the show, but like we were supposed to have a discussion after this Big Bully recording about what we were going to call our recording on Sunday, and then suddenly this became our recording on Sunday. So yeah, we're gonna call this one the season 9 finale. So like, I guess with we're 3 minutes away from having a longer episode than the film Big Bully. Is there anything you want to talk about with like season 9 of the Say Report as we gear up for season 10?
You just good riddance.
Yeah, I kind of get that. I don't disagree. I mean, even the stuff that's happened at like the tail end of season 9 of the Say Report is a lot of good riddance, and not like Green Day good riddance. Like, go fuck yourself, good riddance. But overall, I'm really glad that we did this. I'm glad that we're kicking off looking at these Tom Arnold movies, these 3 Tom Arnold movies that would kind of go on to define him as an actor, the way that Jim Carrey's 3 movies in 94 did, and also Ben Affleck's 3 movies in 2002 did. Poor Tom Arnold being our third party to that we're looking at like this.
Yeah. I am, but yeah, no, I'm excited about looking at the other 2 films as well. As much as, like I said, I was really kind of down on this today because I knew that was going to be the case with how I felt about it. But I don't feel like I wasted my time rewatching this movie. I had, as a movie watcher, as somebody that frequents movies, if you're a completionist, like, this is a great one to watch.
Yeah, I have to agree. Like, they after watching the trailer, I was like, I am not feeling it. And then after the week I've had at work up to this point, I was like, I am not feeling this. But then I sat down, I watched it, and it immediately like touched me on like a visceral level. Like it really caught me, and like there were moments I was crying during this movie where I'm just like, oh damn, this is like this is like beautiful. This movie has like this secret heart to it that like I wish that they were actually like nursing and making a bigger part of this film, right? Because there's so many films here. Like to just sum it up, like there is that movie where Rick Moranis realizes that he was a bit of a bully himself. I mean, even down to the fact that like the story he writes about the moon rock, like and it killing his principal, like his principal touching the moon rock and getting shot to death, like the kid has a bit of a mean streak in him.
Right.
Like it's undeniable. Or like the idea that like we just go full on Stephen King parody and take a Stephen King story but place it squarely in the real world, right? But you know what? You think about like childhood best friend tooling around in a fire truck. Let me give you a ride home and then I'll go hide the body. That sounds like 7 Stephen King stories right there.
Well, right. We would find out that the friend isn't real and it's just been him the whole time.
Yeah, exactly. Or, yeah, all sorts of stuff.
And then Johnny Depp got braces.
I think about, I cannot think the name of it. It's in Night Shift, the one with the monkey on the cover. About the woman, her shortcut. Like, she's a Massachusetts driver and she drives up to Maine. That's one of my favorite Stephen King, like, short stories. And, like, yeah, like those things where, like, she's just tooling around town, going through time warps and getting younger as she does.
Yeah. No, Dolan's Cadillac, I think, is going to always be my favorite one. Yeah. The one where the guy buries the mobster in a car. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah. There's just a bunch of them, right? And it is. So it was an interesting sort of watch and viewing it through the whole Stephen King lens. And again, yeah, like we're going to watch some other Tom Arnold stuff. And I have to say it, right? Like spoilers for the rest of it. These 3 movies, Big Bully, The Stupids, and Carpool, for Devon Decker, they are straight up, I have seen one scene of all of them. And I look forward to sharing with you the one scene that I saw in The Stupids before watching all of The Stupids, and the one scene that I saw of Carpool before watching all of Carpool.
I think that Big Bully is the reason I wasn't allowed to see Carpool and The Stupids. Now, I still saw them, but like, it was not in my house. We were not going to watch it under my roof. Movies were The Stupids and Carpool. And I rewatching the movie today. I'm like, I know I watched this one at home. And so literally it had to have been, I watched this and my mom and dad were like, we're not going to do Tom Arnold movies anymore.
Well, yeah, I mean, imagine being a parent in 1996. You see this, and like you said, it's a dead zone. It really is. January is a dead zone. So, like, oh, that's a movie I can take the kids to see. Because, like, what else was out in, like, I didn't ask you for fact and figures. I didn't know if you put them together for this one. But, like, what else was out January of 96?
96?
Yeah.
Oof. Let me do a real quick look on that one.
Yeah, right. Because looking at it, and the fact that like Tom Arnold, he was a force, right? Like everybody knew about his marriage to Roseanne Barr, and then the very public severing of said marriage.
Well,
like
even before they got divorced, they were very much like a Billy Bob, Angelina Jolie, like Kanye Kardashian couple. They were outrageous, right? Madonna and Dennis Rodman is another couple in that era specifically that I think of, right? Where like it was you almost wondered half the time if they were just doing it as a bit, right? Their relationship, because of how weird they were in public, and then they split, which was huge, yeah.
Yeah. So, like, he was known. So, like, you see this movie. It's got Rick Moranis in it. They just loved Little Giants, right? It's something to go see in January. Let's see. Oh, I... Okay, so opening weekend for Big Bully. It opens at 19. Number 1 in the country, Mr. Holland's Opus.
Mr. Holland's Opus. The Disney movie, yeah.
Yep.
But
Speaking of Richard Dreyfuss,
the same time. Yeah, but this is around the same time that that Toy Story has been out for a couple of months at this point. Yeah. No way. Heat? Did they re-release Heat? Heat didn't come out in 96.
Heat is a 95 movie. He opened December 15th of 95.
Jeez. Wow. I thought it was even older than that. I feel like dust. Don't Be a Menace is out right now. It's been out for a few weeks.
We're going to be talking about parody films, like doing stuff at the box office.
In terms of other family comedies that you might bring your kids to, right? Dustin Checks In has been out for a few weeks at this point. Let's see here. What's the other one that I just saw? Father of the Bride, Part 2. You know, so you know what you're getting into there. It's a nice sequel, right?
Jumanji.
This is
Jumanji's
wild,
been out for 7 weeks. But like, if you're looking for something new to take your kid to see, that like I might also enjoy as the parent, like the Big Bully kind of looks like it's going to be that on the tin, and then you. I'm not seeing much on what the budget was for it, but it only ends up making about $2 million, and only $1 million of that's in the opening weekend. So whatever it then does for the rest of the time it's in theaters, and I don't think it was only in theaters for 2 weeks, but you can imagine what those numbers must look like. I gotta tell you, I think it was only in theaters for 2 weeks, because it is only showing the weekends of January 26th to 28th and February 2nd to the 4th. And the one thing that I'm going to say that Big Bully had going for it is that it was consistently ranked at number 19th in the country.
Nice.
But
holy shit, From Dusk Till Dawn it also just
right? Like, but you're not taking your kids to see that, right? Like, you're taking them to see Big Bully. Because, oh, look, and that, and the narrative, and all these people, like, this, as much as it's dropping in the dead zone, it is perfect bait for, like, kids our age to go see that movie. And you go with your parents, or you see it later on with your parents, I understand why they're like, yeah, we're going to see that nice Tom Arnold movie. Holy fuck, he tried to kill Rick Moranis, and then Rick Moranis killed him, and then something with ghosts? I don't know.
Yeah, but I think between his outrageous kind of experience in the world with Roseanne and the relationship that they had, mixed with this is the kind of movies he's making, we're not going to really do Tom Arnold movies in our house. And it was like, okay,
I get it.
I mean, will get my Tom Arnold elsewhere.
Tom Arnold kind of, well, we'll see that as we get further down the line. I guess the last thing is just an explanation of the title of our episode, just in case you haven't seen Big Bully, which it's worth the watch. I think both Sejohn and I are saying, maybe go give it a try, right? Give it a chance.
While it's free up on Prime, if you got Prime, go watch it, that sort of thing. I actually decided to watch it a different way, and there are other ways to watch it, because I like having a video player that allows me to up the speed on films.
Yes, I agree.
So that's the other thing, but it is definitely up on Prime as well.
Cool. That's where I watched it. I watched it on Prime. It's a pretty good quality. It's not like one of those bad transfers or anything like that. I was impressed with the quality of it. But what the Sam Hill, turns out that's Cockney rhyming slang for what the hell. And we're taught that by Jeffrey Tambor. Thank you, Jeffrey Tambor, for all that you do for all of us in this world. And again, Rick Moranis, I respect the hell out of you for what you did for your family, man. Just like Devon Decker respect, brother. And apparently it's what makes you a smoke show to Sejohn's family. And to me. All right. So all that being said, thank you so much for joining us for this episode of the Say Report. If you want to keep the conversation going, you can join our Discord. Invitations to join are available wherever we are on social media, which as of this recording is Facebook and X, formerly Twitter. If you're not on social media, you can contact us directly, thesayreport@gmail.com, and we can facilitate you with a link to join the Discord. Or if you're not interested in joining the Discord because it's like social media adjacent, we get that. We understand. Just correspond with us via email, thesayreport@gmail.com. The most important thing to remember that if it's for me, Devon Decker, or for him, Sejohn Sarwick, just put our first name in the subject line and it will be distributed appropriately. But do know that if Sejohn reads it, there's a chance he's going to talk about it on the show. That's the risk you take by communicating with us. It's a fun one. I think people always like the shout-outs, I'm not going to lie. Though I will admit I haven't gotten to hear about the people we shouted out in the last episode, how they felt about their shout-outs. Because we're recording this one a little earlier than usual. But yeah, so again, thank you so much for joining us for this episode. The first in our look back at the Tom Arnold Trilogy of 1996. We'll see you next week for another episode and the start of season 10 of the Say Report, which is just crazy that we've been doing this for 10 years, right? Jiminy. But without any further ado, William, please, like a middle school hiring you to teach a creative writing course because you're now a published writer and the hero of the town, bring us home. Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Say Report with your host Devon Decker and Sejohn Sarwick. Please follow the guys on Twitter and Facebook by searching for The Say Report, and you can always subscribe on your podcast channel so this is delivered straight to you and you can enjoy it every week. With apologies to your mother, we'll see you next time.